a sea of cliches and unoriginality. One man dives in search for treasure. The diamonds in the garbage. The unique.
Thank Barbados. Wait a minute.
Or at least a little bit different. Anyway, it's me. I'm the Diver Man. And I have for you a few fantasy manga that have unique concepts, or anything original for that matter. The most notorious stalker runs the world's greatest clan. This one probably has the most generic name in the entire list, but I remember being pleasantly surprised when I gave it a go. The art style is amazing, and everything from the monster designs to the architecture and the world itself exudes originality. Like none of that goblin orc type shit, or the medieval adventurers guild. Everything feels new and interesting. Now to the story. The story follows a boy named Noel, who is the grandson of the strongest seeker in the world. He was raised by him and ultimately wanted to be like him when he grows up. But fate had other plans. You see, in this world, when kids reach a certain age, they receive a job. It's the classic warrior villager fiasco. So our boy, who wanted to be a warrior like his grandpappy, gets dealt a bad hand and receives the job of talker, which is something like a buffer. It's by no means weak, he can still fight decently well with it, but it was nowhere near the strength of the more combat-oriented ones. You can only go so far with it. Of course, Noel is devastated by that fact, so his grandfather encourages him to chase his dream, even if he doesn't have the job he wants. So they start training and training and training, turning his body into that of a Greek god. Is it hot in here? Nah, it's just Noel. Damn, son, look at those abs! Now here is where I was sold on this manga. You see, if it was another trash manga, they would have been like, oh, but little did they know, the talker job is the most broken job in existence. It can kill monsters just by— Stop that. What actually happens is, as I've said before, even if you have the body of a warrior, it wouldn't make much difference if you don't have the job and the skills that go with it. So the MC is like, fine, if I can't become the strongest seeker in the world, then I'm gonna be the leader of the strongest clan in the world. His goal evolves. Then things happen, and now the boy is alone and starts making his way in the world. And so begins his journey to collect the strongest fighters for his team. Another thing I like about Noel is that he doesn't let anyone, and I mean anyone, look down on him. If someone simply tries to insult him, he will rip their tongues out before they even finish the sentence. So yeah, it's fun. Next is, the other world doesn't stand a chance against the power of instant death. This one is gonna be brief, because I don't want to spoil anything. I remember starting this one with little to no expectations. I thought it was gonna be another one of those revenge harem isekai manga. But boy was I wrong. So the story begins with a school bus full of high schoolers. It gets isekai to another world. Apparently they were summoned by this crazy strong magician called the Sage or whatever. Then she's like, you're gonna fight for this world, or I'ma kill you. So everyone is like,
fuck you, you crazy bitch!
So she kills the teacher and the bus driver. No, Jerry! He was just trying to feed his family, you cold-hearted bitch! So then she reveals everyone's skills and takes the strong ones, leaving the weak ones to die. And of course our MC is with the weak, and the story picks from there. Now for the good part. You see, the Sage girl has done fucked up. She thought she just summoned a bunch of kids from who cares where, but little did she know that by summoning our main character, she has quite literally doomed her entire world. Now how and why? I'll leave that for you to find out. And just to drive the previous point home, when she started to hit the fan, little Miss Sage summoned someone from Earth who knows the MC to find out more about him. And you know what happened? Motherfucker started crying and thanking her for taking the boy away from Earth and saving their world. Then she is like, but he's in my world now. So he's like, ha, rip bitch, lol.
I'm in danger!
Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about this one. It's a lot of fun and very funny at times. Rebuild World. I don't know why, but I'm not usually interested in dystopian post-apocalyptic manga. But this one became one of my favorites in no time. It's either because of the stunning art style, or the sick fights, or the yeah, I think it's the art style. So Rebuild World is set in a futuristic dystopian world, where, well, if I have to explain the world, it will be like any other fantasy with guilds, adventurers, dungeons, and monsters. But instead of adventurers, you got hunters. Instead of traditional monsters, you got these like live weapon thingies that are remnants of the old world. Instead of dungeons, you got the remains of the old world, and instead of magic and swords, you got technology and guns.
Well, that's a good gun. Let's do a shoot. Show me how you gonna shoot. I'll be shooting.
Lots and lots of guns. We follow the story of Akira, a boy who is at the bottom of the food chain. He was born in the slums and has no family, so the only way for him to live is by becoming a hunter. So after almost getting himself killed, he's saved by an AI hologram that makes a deal with him to help him become a strong hunter, and in return, he has to at one point conquer a certain dungeon, which is like one of the most dangerous dungeons in the world. I like this one because it doesn't fall into the same hole of some of the similar manga, where the protagonist character takes a backseat turning into a puppet for the supporting character. Even though Akira has a genius AI helping him, he isn't too OP. He still has to pull his own weight, and the author still manages to make his character shine. Our main character was just chilling, playing a VR FPS, when he fell through the map to wake up in a different world. Yeah, don't you hate it when you're playing Apex then you're suddenly in fucking Hortensia or some shit? Anyway, he wakes up in this different world, but inside his in-game avatar, most of his in-game powers are still working, such as guns, baby, woo! From there it's the usual. Save a girl, join the adventurer guild, all that jazz. My favorite thing about this manga is the characters. The character designs are awesome, and they don't suffer from the same problem of a lot of other manga like this, where the side characters are practically useless compared to the MC. In this manga, every adventurer can hold their own. They are capable. That's why when they start struggling, you know shit just got real. The art is yet again great, from the details of the armors to the magic and even the bigger pieces. Mwah, chef's kiss. The story in itself is very intriguing the more it goes on, because the main character is actively searching for a way back to his world. The more he discovers, the more mysteries pop up, and you start to question the nature of that world more and more. This one is called Sono no Nochi. First off, let's talk about the art, so I don't get sidetracked. The art in this manga, especially the white shots, are absolutely phenomenal. Like, I had this page as a wallpaper for months. It's goddamn gorgeous. Now the story. The story starts with us meeting our main character, Wazu. I love that name. And I just want to say that Wazu is my favorite character in this manga. I love him to bits. He's crazy strong and a bit of a dumbass, and has a heart of gold. Wazu is probably the strongest existence in that world, just by the sheer amount of crazy shit he does. Anyway, we meet Wazu, who saves an elf village from monsters. And when they're celebrating, Wazu tells them that he's on a journey to collect a harem. At this point I was like, oh, it's just one of those horny manga. But as the story progressed and we learn more and more about Wazu and where he came from, we realize that the harem was just a front. What he's really searching for is for someone to love him, for friends, people he can connect with. You see, Wazu grew up in a city with his family, his parents and sister. He had a childhood friend that made their problems with him to always be together. Her name was Arya. Then one day the hero party had to set out to defeat the demon lord, and Wazu's friend was chosen to be among the party members because she was a priestess. Of course Wazu wanted to go as well, but he was too weak. So he decided to wait for her return. Years later, the hero party finally returned victorious. The city was celebrating and Wazu was happy that he would finally see his friend again. But their happiness was short-lived when the hero announced that he'll be getting married to the priestess, Wazu's friend. Wazu was devastated, so he decided to run as far away as possible, away from anything that will remind him of his painful memories. And he will only come back when he finds what he seeks. During his journey, he faced death many times. He became stronger without realizing it. And he set a goal for himself, to search for people that will love him. Yes, he had a family that loved him very much, but that was not the kind of love he was looking for. That love was unconditional. They loved him no matter what, just like how he loved them. He wanted someone to love him for himself, his personality, his actions. He wanted a hand in that love. So Wazu's journey to find the harem began. He travels, he meets people, helps people, discovers new things, and a lot of the time, he finds himself facing rejection. But he still picks himself up and continues his journey with a dumb grin on his face. And now, a moment of silence for the axed ones. The ones who couldn't make it in a world of trash tastes and sales. Moving on, next. So our boy Tsuguto dies and gets isekai. It's pretty straightforward. He just wakes up in a mining cave next to a town. No summoning, no gods, nothing. So he does the logical thing, which is learning about his world and trying to get a source of income. He finds out that the best way to get money quickly besides adventuring is mining. So he gets his trusty bucket and heads in. There he finds arguably the best character in this video, a sheep girl named Laurier. Look at her, she's so cute and fluffy and adorable and fluffy. So fluffy. Pat the sheep girl, hold the sheep girl, cherish the sheep girl. Sorry, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. Tsuguto and Laurier become a family and start dungeon crawling together. Tsuguto, with his evil eye powers, he gives his enemies the worst death possible. And Laurier, with her shovel, she bunks the shit out of everything. She's a beast. Then there is Welcome to the impregnable Demon King Castle. The Black Mage who got kicked out of the hero party due to his unnecessary debuffs gets welcomed by the top brass of the Demon King's army. These fucking titles are gonna be the death of me. The world of this manga is quite interesting. Instead of the usual hero party versus demon army, you got these dungeon conquering games. You see, since the world is at peace, they decided to make a heroes versus demons game, where people control avatars to fight with demons who do the same. And it's all aired as a sports event. We first see the hero party from the perspective of the viewers. They're fighting some monsters and every member is doing some sort of flashy and OP move. Except for one, who's just standing there doing nothing. Of course, since this is basically a show, the audience doesn't like that. Well, that guy is our MC, Remy. And we find out he's a black mage, which is like a debuffer. He doesn't need to move to do what he does. And he does a lot. But of course the audience can't notice that, which is whatever really. What's really stupid is that his teammates start believing he's useless, except for one, but we'll get to him in a sec. Like, how dumb do you have to be to not notice that monsters don't attack you half the time? Honestly, this one is an idiot. This one is an ungrateful bitch. And honestly, I forgot this one even existed. Whew. And that leaves us with the exception. He's Remy's best friend and he knows about his true strength. So the party votes to kick out the black mage. Of course his friend tries to help him but to no avail. So he gets kicked out. At this point some people were mad because his friend didn't leave the party with him. And to those people I say, shut thine trap. Because even if he tried to do that, Remy would not have let him. Because he knows how much that means to him. Anyway, now Remy feels sad. Because his dream was to become the strongest hero in the world. But now he is jobless and no party would take him. A couple days later, he's approached by a beautiful lady that offered him a job. Turns out that job was to become a freaking demon general. At first Remy refuses because he is not comfortable with changing sides. So she tells him, "You tried to become a hero for the humans and it didn't work out. So how about becoming a hero for the monsters?" And that's how it begins. Truly a great manga with a stunning art. Highly suggested. The story starts with a regular summon. A class gets isekai'd. They first meet with a goddess that gives them their blessing. Then they move on to the world of the one who summoned them. Only our MC, his name is Inori, gets transported back into where the goddess is. And she's just as surprised by that as he is. So she just gives him another blessing, because the rules say that whoever passes through her gets a blessing. And then he gets summoned again. Then again. Then again. Each time by a different person from a different world. Only for him to return back to where the goddess is every single time. You know, I gotta hand it to the author. Because they didn't have to put effort into designing one-off characters that we'll only probably see once. Yet they did. But of course there has to be an end to this circus so we can start the story. So the goddess helps him to get summoned one last time. This time hopefully for good. He gets summoned with 3 other people as an extra, since the people who did the ritual only called for 3. They test them and they find out that our MC's performance is very underwhelming. So he gets sidelined because he's weak. Or at least that's how it seems. Remember the rule of the goddess? The one where anyone who passes through her gets a blessing? Well, each time Inori got transported back to her realm, he got a new blessing. Each and every single time. So you can guess how broken his abilities are. And that's how the story begins. So far it has been very fun. Inori is not a bland character. He's OP but not too OP. He still needs to use his brain and strategize when he's facing strong enemies. And by strong enemies I mean fucking Goliaths that can destroy countries by a sneeze. The strongest Doll Prince's secret battle for the throne. Our main character is Arnold. He is known throughout the kingdom as the incompetent prince, the useless prince that does nothing all day but mess around. He is weak, lazy, and has no ambition, someone who is the exact opposite of his twin brother. But that's all just an act. He is in fact a genius and secretly the strongest S-rank adventurer in the kingdom, known as Silver. His goal is to help his twin brother from the shadows to win the succession war for the throne. Arnold is crazy OP and would do anything to protect his brother. Since the king is not dead yet, that means the succession war is more like a war of influence and achievements, with a lot of scheming and crazy battles. It's a lot of fun.
The eminence in the shadow.
Every time I'm gonna say that sentence, I'm gonna do it with a voice. Deal with it.
The eminence in the shadow.
The satire of the whole mysterious shadow warrior trope, like Tuxedo Mask and the others. But it does it in a way that is both hilarious and badass. I really like how the author doesn't ruin the tense atmosphere for the sake of a stupid gag. He has a pretty good comedic timing. The story follows Sid. Back when he was in our world, his dream was to become
The eminence in the shadow.
by looking like any other mob character, but secretly being very powerful and save the day from the sidelines. Then he hits a wall, because no matter how hard he trains, he's still human and would lose to a nuke. So he becomes the nuke. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. But could you imagine? I got isekai'd into another world as a nuke. It would be a pretty short isekai, but how did he wear this one? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. He thinks of the only logical solution, which is
Magic.
of course magic doesn't exist, but he tries his best. That is until Shoukan gets him. So he gets isekai to your typical isekai world that actually has magic. And that's where it starts. His
Eminence in the shadow.
fantasy. Sid becomes crazy OP. Like he actually becomes a nuke. Everything he does is to realize his dream. He does everything he can to look like a mob character and to look as badass as possible when he switches to his other persona. And boy does he succeed. It's getting an anime soon, so I highly suggest you check it out. And that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in another 20 years. Later.